We got fixed up through business. You read about some of them. 2 years before she was there.
My apologies. It's embarrassing to friends.
All right, people.
But I hope to
Next show starts in 5 seconds.
I feel terrible.
Let's take our seats. Let's take our seats. I love herding cats. Yeah. All right. Good crowd tonight.
It's a big crowd,
Yeah. We actually had, I think, like 400 startups apply for 70 seats. I mean, it's free. I know. I'm not charging anything. It's an interesting topic. But. All right. If everyone takes their seats, please. If you want to network, maybe go out towards the food, which is just over that wall. This is the main show here, so let's show them the credit and something they deserve. Respect. All right, awesome. So this is our last panel of the evening on early stage startup M&A. We have such an amazing panel here. I'm going to let them introduce themselves. Maybe if we go down the list, just say who you are, what you do, and what is on your wish list for Santa Claus this year. Just to.
Yeah. My name's Amin Zufanoon. I do corp dev, which is M&A. At Google. I've been there about, I guess I'm in my 8th year. I was an engineer, a lawyer before that, and wish list from Santa Claus is less work.
My name is Alad Gill, and I'm here to represent, I believe, the entrepreneurial side of things. So I sold my company to Twitter about a year ago, and I've also been advising and investing in a number of startups, and so I've probably helped 5 or 6 of them out in terms of M&A over the last year, just in terms of negotiating with potential acquirers. And then for Christmas, I'm actually Jewish, so I deserve 8 gifts. And that'll probably take too long to go through, so I'll just pass it on.
I don't know if I can follow that. Taylor Berida from Yahoo Corp Dev. In terms of things I would want for Christmas.
Or from Hanukkah Charlie.
Yeah, no,
Hanukkah
it's fine. So I guess first of all, I've been at Yahoo about 18 months and worked across our business in sort of social, the ad side, as well as the communications group as well. In terms of what I would want for Christmas, we were actually just talking about the fact that unfortunately this past year was sort of devoid of personal lives, and so it's hard to even think about what I would actually want. So I'll probably stick with the fact that my daughter just lost her first front tooth, and so the other one seems to be on the way, so we'll sort of do that stereotypical, all you want for Christmas is your 2 front teeth. So should be a good Christmas at our household.
I'm Mike Brown. I manage corporate development at Facebook. I've been at Facebook for about 2 years, and my girlfriend and I both really want puppies, but we can't really look after them because of our schedule. So if we could have dogs at the office, I think we would want puppies for Hanukkah/Christmas.
Puppies, great. So, if you're trying to pitch your startup to Mike, just show up with a puppy and drop it off. So, just real quick on the format, we've got about 40 minutes for the panel, and then we'll have about half hour for audience Q&A. I want to get through a couple core topics, and then we'll open it up. So, be thinking of what you want to ask these guys. Let's start with you. Google is a deal machine. I don't know how many deals have you done this year, but start us off with a little overview of the process. What happens when you're acquiring a startup? What teams are involved? How long does it take? Give us just kind of an overview of the process from the Google perspective.
Sure. So the process is not standard by any means. I would say that it depends on the particular startup, why we're looking at it, and who's looking at it within Google. So average time we quote is a couple months or a month. It could be shorter. Actually, the bigger deals tend to go much quicker. The smaller deals tend to take longer, and we could talk about why that is generally. And the process is generally we get to know the team, we get to know the technology, we get to know whatever we can before we kind of go to our executives and seek approval for the deal and get consensus from the various teams. And then what happens is you as a startup would see much bigger than I think most people expect team of professionals that get involved, which includes my team, which leads a integration team, a finance team, a legal team, HR for getting people offers and getting them Google badges and to conduct the diligence and get the deal through. So it's, I think, a typical process for the most part.
Maybe talk about the diligence and information. You know, a lot of startups have concerns when they start to talk to a large company, as Naval was talking about, of sharing information, you know, worried about Google becoming a competitor. Maybe, you know, what information is disclosed and when in the process? You know?
Absolutely. No, that's a good question. And as paranoid as startups are and entrepreneurs are with respect to their confidential information, and they should be, we as a big company who pride ourselves on doing things right and good and all that and not evil, are very paranoid. I think I could speak for most of the companies up here about actually being tainted with third-party confidential information. So we're very careful to only receive just enough to make decisions to get to the next step. So it's a very kind of pyramid process. As you get deeper, you sign a term sheet, you're close to a merger agreement, we would exchange deeper kind of confidential information. So we don't want to know your secret sauce before we get to that stage, actually.
Until you've made an offer or at least a range of what the consideration would be? Is that
typically even post that? We get a good idea of things. We try to agree on what the deal terms would look like. Once we sign a term sheet and go down the process of diligence, and we get closer to a definitive merger agreement, you would see us do things like code reviews and such.
good? Taylor or Mike, anything more on the process? Does it follow a similar format at Yahoo and Facebook? Anything unique to your companies?
Some U.S. president once said, plans are meaningless or useless. Planning is everything. And so for us, the people who build the products are probably more important than the products themselves. And so our diligence is really going to focus on the small number of people who brought that product to life to make sure that we're excited about them, that they have good technical chops and a lot of vision. And so I would kind of double underline the evaluation of a small group of people in your company as being the most important step in the process. And then after that, it's very smooth.
Yeah, I think for us it's similar. I think the nuance is, I think we're very focused on sort of cultural fit and alignment of vision. I mean, I think Yahoo, you know, over the last 15 years or whatever, has developed its own, you know, sort of culture and sense of, you know, what it's trying to do. And, you know, at times we've, you know, muddled our external articulation of that. But I think internally, you know, it matters that people want to be there and that they think that they can do more together with us than sort of just going off and seeing it as an exit and a check. So I think very early on, we're trying to get a feel for, you know, do we have a shared vision? And I think in regards to the question of sort of the secret sauce, you know, my sort of working assumption is that, you know, in theory, our engineers could go do anything, given them enough time. And so I'm not talking to any company that, you know, that we don't already assume that there's a speed to market thing, there's something unique there. And so it's almost like you can just take that off the table and not worry about it. I think the true secret sauce stuff, you know, that comes out in the code review and that would particularly, you know, like you were saying, can taint you, that comes extraordinarily late in the process. And sometimes, you know, we even use third parties for, you know, code scans and things like that so that we truly aren't tainted.
Elad, you're representing the entrepreneur in the room because your company was acquired, but does Twitter have a corp dev team? Has Twitter made many acquisitions? What is Twitter ramping up? Any commentary on that?
Yeah, Twitter's made a number of acquisitions. There's a corp dev team, so Jessica Varelli works on it. It's under Kevin Thaw, who runs corp dev and BD. And there have been a number of acquisitions. I think very early on in Twitter's history, they bought Surmise, which was a search engine. I think that was when Twitter was about 15 people. And so it was a small company that they bought, but still was a pretty large proportion of the overall company and culture. We were the first acquisition since then, I believe, and then they've made a number of other ones, including Tweety, DabbleD, and a few others. So.
Interesting. Good. So we put on the Eventbrite registration, we put it out there, you know, for folks to see what questions they wanted to see addressed, and almost universally, it was how do I get on your radar? How do I start talking to corporate development folks? Mike, maybe I'll start with you on this one. Facebook's made a number of smaller acquisitions, mostly talent. I think I read somewhere it was about 10 this year so far. But it seems like you're gearing up to do more and maybe larger ones. How do startups get on your radar and get into a discussion, typically?
Facebook's an engineering company. Engineers rule. And so the best way to get on our radar is through the engineering side of the organization. You can come to me and say, hey, Mike, we're thinking about our strategic options or whatever parlay people use. And I'll certainly do my best to be helpful. I'll make the right introductions to the right people inside the company. But ultimately, if you can get a product or engineering leader at Facebook excited about what you're doing, especially if they've known you or you've known them from prior work experiences, that's really the best way to create momentum. Because then my job actually gets a lot easier and the process goes smoother, because when I sit in front of our CEO, Mark Zuckerberg, and he looks at me and says, Mike, you don't know how to code your way out of a box, which is true, I can say, yeah, but Brett Taylor really thinks these guys are good, or Gokul Rajaram really says these people are terrific. And when we have that kind of support to get a project done, meaning an acquisition consummated, it really is the most compelling thing for Facebook and gets us excited to move fast and to make it happen.
Does that hold true for Google and Yahoo? Is it better to go in through a business unit or a product unit than go into corp dev? How often is it a push to corp dev versus a pull from?
I think we frankly see both. I mean, we do a lot of sort of external outreach in terms of just being out there, doing events, talking to different people, checking in with all of the VC relationships we have, and just sort of seeing what they're talking about and what they've invested in. And so, introductions in through people we know is always a good thing. It's part of the theory of social networks and whatnot. But I think, certainly coming through product is also great. Ultimately, I totally agree with Mike that we're trying to partner with our business leaders and product leaders to build the business. And so, ultimately, in many ways, we're the people who sort of help get it done. But oftentimes, in the early stages, we act more as a concierge to sort of make a connection, because you may or may not be at a point where you're actually even looking to exit, and you're just trying to sort of establish that relationship. And so, I think that's another thing that we end up doing quite a bit of, is where, at a big company like Yahoo or Google, I think Facebook's probably well on its way to getting that way too, is people sort of say, hey, I'd like to talk to you about XYZ, but I just don't know who to go to. And I think, that's with us being sort of more externally focused and out there and talking to people, you can, more than likely someone that we know, and you can just get connected into us, and then we can get you in touch with a product person if there's a product partnership you're looking to do in the short run. And then if the long run we're aware of you, that's a good thing too.
Anything different at Google?
I think it's pretty much what my colleagues here said. I would just add that to answer your question, I'd also go back to why we look to acquire, and maybe that's part of the question that folks are asking. And if it's for engineering prowess, obviously having an engineering team within the company that supports that and feels there's a need for a team with that kind of expertise is something that's more determinative, as Mike mentioned, through the engineering teams or the product teams than it is through corp dev. But we acquire for other reasons as well. We do acquire for a product or technology that we feel gives us time to market advantage or helps us achieve some goal that we're trying to achieve faster or better. Other times we acquire for what I would call big bets. Android's a good example of that. And then we also acquire things that have some kind of a leadership position, market leadership, technology leadership, and we could think of all the big deals that Google has done.